First up, we have the approval of the agenda.
Support.
Motion and support. Any changes or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Public comments. You have 5 minutes. Please give us your name if you're going to speak. Public comment.
Good morning, Commissioners and staff. My name is Lynn Fussell, and I live at 2203 Craiglow Drive in the city. I'm here today because I am an applicant for the opening on the Region 2 Planning Commission. I recently retired, well, not recently, it's been a year now, since I retired from the city after almost 30 years, and I'm trying to get into the other side. I still want to remain active in my community. I'm currently serving on the city's Historic District Commission, and I heard about this opening and thought I would apply for it. My experience with the Region 2 Planning Commission, again, is from the other side. As an employee, I know that they are very important to the city when it comes to drafting zoning ordinances and the master plan and many other things for the city. And also the transportation aspect, which I find very interesting. The facilitation of the state and federal funds coming through here, and then the decisions they make about our roads and living in the city. Especially this time of year, I see how important road restoration can be. So please accept, sorry. Anyway, if you will consider me for this position, I would appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Excuse me, my name is Tim Burns. I too have applied for the same position. I live at 208 South Grand Point in Columbia Township. I work here in the city of Jackson at Jackson Power, which is a brownfield redevelopment site. My experience with Region 2 is mostly as a citizen. I dealt with them a little bit on the Vineyard on the Lakes project that encompassed Cambridge Township and Norville Township. So I worked a little bit with both townships and both counties because that development took place in all those areas. And I think Region 2 is a very necessary committee due to the scope that they deal with. The townships could hardly do that on their own. So I think it's a good idea. It works well. And it's something that I think if I was a member, I'd be an asset to. Thank you for your time.
Public comment? Public comment closed. Next, we have the minutes from the March 10th, 2014 meeting. Motion and support. Any corrections or changes? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Appointments. We've got a number of appointments, some that were held over from last month's meeting. The first up is the Region 2 Area Agency on Aging. We have 3 seats. First seat is currently occupied by Howard Griffiths, and he's the applicant.
So moved.
Motion and support. Any other nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Second position is Pat Spank, who is also the applicant.
Move to forward her name.
Motion and support. Any other nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Third and final position is Arlene Shepard, who's also the applicant. Any other nominations? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Next up is the Region 2 Planning. We have one position, a public member. It's Mark Baker's seat, who has not reapplied. The 2 applicants we just heard from are Timothy Burns and Lynn Fessel.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to recommend Lynn Fessel to the full board.
Any other nominations?
I'll nominate Tipsy Burns.
Okay. Any other nominations? Clerk will call the roll.
Commissioner Leitner? Commissioner Lechka?
Burns.
Commissioner Alexander?
Burns.
Commissioner Placzek? Commissioner Elwell?
Burns. Mr. Burns has reached a majority, and his name will be forwarded on. And Lynn, thank you for applying. Next up, we have the Department on Aging Advisory Council. They're all terms that appear to expire at the same time, and we have what appears to be 5 applicants for 7 positions.
I would move names to the board.
You're reading my mind. Any other nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Next up, we have the Ag Preservation Board. The current member is Greg Sanford, and the applicant is Andrew Alexander. This is a appointment that's been vacant for a very long time. Julie?
Mr. Chair, if I just may make known for the sake of transparency, as you read the application, he proudly states that his mother is a county commissioner, and if this committee so chooses, I would be willing to abstain from voting.
I don't see the need for that. Julie called me ahead of time and told me that it's a seat that's been open for a long time. He obviously has a farm background, so unless some other commissioner wants to take issue with that. Okay? And was there a nomination of Andrew? Oh,
I'll move that,
any other nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. South Central Michigan Works, Julie.
Thank you. I sent the administrator's office, and including Delane, and I believe you, Mr. Agencies and Affairs Chair, information from South Central Michigan Works, including their bylaws and policy as to how many county commissioners need to be on that board. There is a total of only 3 individuals as far as county commissioners that need to be on that board, and we currently have 3. What had happened over the years when we had a board of 12 commissioners, there were 3 individuals that served on the consortium board, with 1 being an alternate. And now, if we eliminate the alternate position, then there are no openings. Another option is, if there is someone that wanted to apply for this position, another commissioner, we can continue with the alternate. So basically, we are set right now, according to their policy, we have the mandated 3. It would just be a matter of removing the word alternate from my position, as I had for the last 3 years.
Okay, I'd suggest we can talk it over with the chair and the administrator and come back next month with a recommendation on it. That'd be sufficient? Okay. Moving on to the Street Naming Address Review Committee. Seemed like there was another name for it at one time, but you're reading my mind too. Dave?
I would nominate.
Any other nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. I think that does it for appointments. Next up, we have the Register of Deeds report, and I think Mona's probably going to give that. Mona?
Good morning. Can you hear me? Okay. How's that? Better? Okay. We're pleased to submit our 2013 annual report. This report reflects the activities of our office, the recordings and filings of real estate and miscellaneous documents. First up, we have revenues. If you look at our accounts, almost every account we had an increase last year. Last year was a good year for the Register of Deeds office in Jackson County, and Way of recordings, we had 29 surveys, or coroners recorded and 54 surveys. In the way of documents, if you break it down, we had an increase in mortgages and discharges. It appeared that there was a lot of refinancing and new mortgages last year. Our numbers slightly increased for total recordings for the year. County transfer tax. County transfer tax is a tax collected on the value or the consideration of a property sold. County's current rate is .55 per $500. We had an increase in county transfer tax. We also collect state transfer tax, which went into effect in 1995, where the state's rate is $3.75 per 500. And we collected $2,016,000 for state transfer tax, which that entire amount is forwarded to state treasury. Next comes microfilm and copies. We no longer sell microfilm, but by state statute, we maintain a backup of every recorded document on microfilm, and we store it off-site. But we do have copy revenue. We, back in 2012, was it? October, we started taking credit cards through our website, and we've seen a large increase in our copy revenue due to being able to purchase using a credit card through our website. We also have imaging revenue. Back in 1996, when we implemented our imaging system, we replaced the microfilm revenue with imaging. In 2008, we purchased a web-based software, but maintained contracts that we had with our local title companies for this imaging, where they would have a remote system that they would be able to view images and do searching from their location. In August of 2013, we terminated the contracts with our local title companies and gave all customers the same options to search our records and receive full imaging viewing at a cost per username instead of receiving thumbnail images. The public receives thumbnail images right now on our website. That's to protect our images from being downloaded and resold. Well, now we have, other than just our local title companies, anyone who is willing to sign a contract per username. Say you've got 5 users in your office, each user $100 a month, and they'll receive full image viewing, which makes it a lot easier for them to search and get the information they need from their site instead of coming into our office. And that's the revenue from imaging. We also do all the setup and security levels for the users. We have attorneys, surveyors, independent title people, banks. We also have intergovernmental users, which have no fees, such as equalization, the treasurer's office. All townships can dial in, or I shouldn't say dial in, get onto our website, and they get all of their township information at no cost. Remonumentation. In 2013, we collected $101,844 in remon. We had 61 remon coroners recorded. Our land search is our track index. This isn't considered part of the public because we created this track index over years. We collected 21,375 in land search or track. A person coming in like yourself and wanting to search your own personal property and do it by land, description, there's no charge. This is only charged for those who turn around and make a profit, like banks, title companies, attorneys. Then you see our recording comparisons. We recorded no plats in 2013, and we recorded 1 condominium in 2013. And last, I'm glad to say sheriff deeds total for 2013 dropped again. That means mortgage foreclosures were dropping. In way of an update, I just wanted to let you know that this year we're tend to be slower. We're getting a slower start. We're about 500 below in recordings, but it appears to be mainly those new mortgages or refis that we saw last year. We're not seeing come in as quickly this year. We've just started e-recording the treasurer's forfeiture documents. This is the first year we'll completely be recording all of their major documents. No more paper. We're all doing it through the e-recording process. And this July, we're excited to say we're going to start e-recording with external customers like banks, title companies, lending institutions, attorneys. Excuse me. Friday, June 13th, we're going to have an open house, and we're sending out flyers to all of our customers and the local companies here in town. We're going to hold it in the commission chambers. We're going to have someone there that our vendor will answer all questions for these potential customers on the benefits of using the e-recording versus mailing, bringing it in, and the protection it involves. And then they'll each be able to, we'll have 3 different vendors there. They'll each be able to break up and talk to them and get any of their extra questions answered. The fee that they will pay, there's no fee for us. These companies will charge these customers to do all the paperwork to get it to us. It's going to make our job so much faster. It's going to save us in toner, paper, postage, because it's all going to be done through the e-recording process. It's all going to come in and already be there. So we're really excited about that. And then in our automation, we scanned another about 450,000 images, historical mortgages, discharges, and assignments, which will be uploaded later on in the summer, which will then be again on our website, available to search and to print. And this is also a great source of disaster recovery. We continue to try and add more of our historical documents every year, so for the dual purpose of disaster recovery, but more options for people that aren't local that can go onto our website and do any searching and purchasing of copies they need. That's it for my annual report. Any questions?
Mona, thank you. And Amanda, very good report, a lot of detail. Just one question for me on the corners. Is that a process that'll eventually end? After they hit all the corners, or is it just a continuing? And how many corners are left to do in the county, if you know?
It's something you'll have to contact Dean Gutekunst in regards to.
Okay.
The Remon program, I think, has a deadline, but Dean Gutekunst would be able to answer those questions for
Okay.
you. Okay?
Commissioners, any questions? Okay, thank you. Equalization report, Ruth.
Good morning. This isn't technically our biannual equalization report. This is the time when we bring the 4024, the assessed value changes for the year to you. I do not have those final numbers yet. We did get the final units in on Friday, but we have not balanced them. There are still some issues between, and bringing them into our system, and some inconsistencies. So we need to get those addressed and get the final numbers done, mainly through, most of it this year is technology issues with the old Pervasive program and the new .NET program, and how it's processing those veterans exemptions and that type of thing. I can give you some overall idea of what's happening with numbers. Our assessed values this year are up about 1.8%, and taxable value is up about 1.6% overall. The kind of unusual thing is actually the biggest increase this year is in personal property. That's up about 21% this year, mainly through utility personal property, and there was a large amount of personal property filed in the city for the new power plant. So that's where the biggest increase is. Industrial's down about 25%. That's the other biggest swing. But all over, like I said, 1.8% roughly increase in assessed, 1.6 in taxable. So that's all I can give you for this at this time. I'll get the 4024 balanced and and to you as soon as we get the numbers finalized.
Ruth, we're on a deadline by law, I think, on when we have to have that approved, correct? Which is what, May 1st?
May 5th.
Is there any deadline for the municipalities to have the information to you or not?
Yes, this coming Wednesday.
I see. Okay, so there's nothing for us to pass, I guess, but we'll probably have to have a standing committee meeting Tuesday night, I would think, and then we can approve it there and send it on to the full board. Make sense?
It does, you anticipate having it for next.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we just have a couple bugs, glitches in the program, basically, that we've got to get to the bottom of before I want to, I don't want to give you numbers that aren't perfect, so,
Okay, we'll plan on having a standing committee meeting Tuesday then.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
BRA. Amy.
Good morning. Debbie Kelly and I are here from the Enterprise Group to report on the Brownfield Authority and the Economic Development Corporation. Brownfield Authority, we sent you in a report just to make some highlights. The Acme redevelopment team is working toward getting that property ready to be offered for sale. And there is a 1,500-page report that was completed after a lot of environmental assessment. A lot of the bulk of that document includes environmental reports and backup, and also the historic recordation that we were required to complete before that was demolished. So a lot of it is just a lot of information that you wouldn't want to read, but there is an executive report that's available for that. I think most of you have received copies of that, and if you haven't, please let me know and I can get it in a Dropbox for you. We are beginning to receive tax increment on the brownfield plans that have been adopted in the county, and you can see that winter 2013 tax revenues totaled $2,500, and those were for brownfield plans, just to let you know where those are coming from: Northwest Refuse in Blackman Township, Clavon's, Stone Village Condominiums, and the Farewell Healing Center in Summit Township, and PT&T in Leone, and then also the Mill Street property in the Village of Brooklyn. So we'll continue to report those tax increments to you. As you'll recall, brownfield plans allow tax increment financing to be collected and then to be used to repay developers or repay the Brownfield Authority for eligible costs. Also, we canceled our April meeting for lack of agenda items, but we do anticipate bringing an application that's not yet received to the May meeting. And also, we applied for a U.S. EPA assessment grant. Those were due later in the year this year, so we don't expect to hear till probably June or July if we receive that. We applied for $400,000. And Zimmer Marble loans on the original revolving loan fund are current, and the balance due there is over $651,000. And that's all I have on the Brownfield Authority, unless I can answer any questions you might have.
Commissioners, any questions? Okay.
Okay, let me continue with EDC. Okay, Economic Development Corporation, you also have a report, and I'll just highlight some of those items. Right now, we have $281,000 available to loan out, $178,000 in the county portion and $103,000 in the city portion. We continue to promote those funds, and I talk about them on retention visit programs, and we always send information when we receive inquiries for expansions or relocations, financing. 2 applications were received by the Loan Review Committee since October, and one was a $15,000 county portion loan for Lutz Cabinets expansion, or relocation, to Summit Township. And the second loan was for $200,000 for working capital for Cox Brothers Machining. That was a city portion loan. Also, the CDBG Small Cities Loan Program, which we had maintained an open account with only 33 cents in it for several years, waiting for the state to determine how that program was going to be administered. We just recently closed that account on the request of the state, MEDC, who is reinvigorating the program, and they're now using Capital Fund, I think that's the name of it, to administer the program. We will still be eligible because we did have a CDBG revolving loan fund program to apply for funds if we ever get a program where we want to use that funding source. It's much more complex to administer than our EDA-seeded revolving loan fund, which is the one that you normally hear about. But we do have the opportunity through an application process to have availability for that loan fund as well. The 2013 EDC audit will begin this month, and the portfolio now is at 43 loans, a little over $4.2 million, and that's created 511 jobs over the years, and 880 jobs have been retained and leveraged approximately $47.3 million. And other than that, I can answer questions if you have any.
Thanks, Amy. Any questions, commissioners? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
J.C. Dot, Cross and Warner Road Bridges.
Good morning. Pretty typical of our federal aid contracts. This is just another one here, and it's for the Cross Road Bridge and the Warner Road Bridge. And there's a resolution that goes along with that, and now MDOT is requiring 2 original resolutions, so Steve and Amanda will have a lot of signing to do next week. And we took bids, the bids were opened on Friday. I don't have the results of them yet, so it'll be interesting to know. We heard from one of the contractors that didn't have any work going on yet, that his pencil might be pretty sharp, so that's good news for us.
Okay, and we're looking to forward it on to the full board. I see there's not a resolution number on it yet. I guess it'll get assigned that when it moves on. And my only other comment is there's a couple of other resolutions coming later, and there's language in it that says Board of Jackson County Commissioners in one area, and it's reversed in the other. Maybe we can get that changed to say Jackson County Board of Commissioners on all of them. But we'd be looking for a motion to send this on to the full board.
Make that motion.
Support.
Motion and support. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Jefferson Road contract.
This is almost the same thing, only now it's just a state contract and not a federal aid, because we did get some 3R funding for Jefferson Road, which was very, very nice. Opened up a lot of things for us. They're going to help us pay for that project, and it also allows us to reobligate the rural federal dollars that we had with that Jefferson Road, so we can program those on some other projects, and we've got a couple selected. Moscow Road was one, and that's almost a 10-mile stretch, and then 5 miles of Lansing Ave from Henry Road to the county line. So that's what we're going to do with that $929,000 of federal aid money. But being Jefferson Road here, this is just a contract that allows us to do that project. And we have submitted our request for payment. The payment will be sent to our staff electronically here. Last Thursday, it had not arrived yet, so we're waiting for that check to show up.
Chairman Chatwell.
Joe, what is going to be our timing on Jefferson Road along with the events that are going on at MIS this year?
Well, we're going to work around the events just like we did for the chip seal on Vickery Road last year. I talked to Barry Gibson last week about it. Of course, the progress schedule shows how we're going to work around the August race, and they do have a number of events that are ongoing out there. They have the cross-country, they got the faster horses, a lot of things going on. So we're going to work with MIS very, very close, and Barry, as you know, is retiring after the June race, and so I just had a chance to meet his the person that's going to be taking his place, so we'll be in close contact. They are sending me the schedule of all their other events too, so we got to work around all of that. Contractors know that.
Okay, looking for a motion to send it to the full board. Motion and support. Questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Approval of, that was the road contract. This is approval of bids for Jefferson Road. Be looking for a motion to send that on also. Questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Joe, down to the local bridge program, call for projects.
Yes, every year we get a call for projects from MDOT and stating that we can submit up to 5 projects, whether they're for complete replacement, rehabilitation, or preventive maintenance. We have selected 5 bridges that we would like to submit this year. Cornell Road, Moon Lake Road, South Jackson Road, and the Bend Road Bridge, and also the Trist Road Bridge. So they're kind of scattered around the county. We have been very successful in securing some of these funds. I mean, we already got Cross and Warner this year. We had Folks and O'Brien last year. We have Hague Avenue for next year, and then the big bridge in Parma there, West Michigan Ave for 2016. So you have to look out into the future. Now, we're submitting these now, and this is to be done in 2017. So that's a long ways out. Hopefully your engineer's estimates are still pretty accurate if indeed you do become successful in getting any of these bridges. Right down by Liberty, by the Township Hall there. Yes, yes. Yeah, that's a little different bridge. That was widened 50 years ago. It's a very old bridge, pushing 90 years old. And the inside beams are still in good shape. It's the addition that's on the outside that are falling apart there.
Okay, any other questions? Looking for a motion. Motion and support, questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. The certification book and resolution. Pretty well spelled
This
out.
is another issue that you have to do every year. There's a deadline on it, and this is where you make corrections to your primary road mileage and your local road mileage. And we added one road this year, Fox Lake Trail out in Hanover Township, and then we abandoned a part of Woodville Road, so we have to subtract that. And this is how you get your funding through your Act 51 money, is based on the miles of roads that you have. You get so many cents per primary road and so many cents per local road. And there's a cover sheet, and new drawings have to be done for it. I mean, the book is about this thick, and the urban boundary change, and so you have to modify the urban boundary within the confines of that certification book. And it just tells you how many feet each road is, so if somebody calls and they want to know, you can look it up, and that's the way that goes.
Okay. Questions or comments? Looking for a motion? Motion and support. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Joe, the quote for the timber culvert for the Jefferson Road to Kren
Yes.
Timber Bridge.
Yeah, we are going to do that culvert replacement on Jefferson Road with a timber box, and we had to get permission from the DEQ. We met with the representative out there, back in December, and that area, that part of it has a 36-inch CMP corrugated metal pipe and also a 48-inch, and we were pretty nervous that they were going to want us to put in like this huge concrete box culvert that's $1,500 a foot or something, and he okayed us to put it in the underneath Jefferson Road on a skew, so we can line up the way that the water flows under the road. So we were able to narrow it up, and we could get by with a 4-foot by 8-foot timber box. So we took some quotes here, and Bob Kren was the low bidder on it. And we have purchased from Bob many times over the years for a variety of other timber boxes. Like I said, Kalmbach Road, we've done Van Horn Road, Devereux Road, Wheeler Road here, probably in the past 5 years. So we would like to recommend this quote to Bob at that price that he put in his quote there.
Joe, just one question for me. Is this part of the original amount covered by the grant also or not?
Yes.
It is, okay.
We weren't sure, though. I mean, My estimate for Jefferson Road was pretty high, and we weren't sure, that's why, and then also, we wanted to buy the culvert ourselves so we can get going on the fabrication of it, because by the time you get the contractor in and then he starts to fabricate it, it might not be ready till too late in the process.
Okay, looking for a motion. Dave, question?
Is this the same type culvert that was put at Columbar Road?
Yes.
And it took forever.
Oh, well, that wasn't, no. Well, it's going to be the same process, yeah, it's not going to take that long, Bob, or Dave, I'm sorry. Yeah, that was certainly a different set of circumstances there.
Okay, looking for a motion. Motion and support. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. The state street sweeping bid.
Jerry?
In front of you is the bids that we take for MDOT, actually. So they ask us to go out and get estimates for sweeping on the state highways. And that's what we've done, is gone out and gotten estimates for sweeping on the state highways. So it's kind of just a pass-through. Whatever they charge, we end up just pushing it off to MDOT plus our 8.5%. So works out well.
Pretty simple. Very good. Questions or comments? Julie?
Jerry, is this a service that's always been subcontracted out, or has this ever been done in-house?
I'm not sure of that. We do have sweepers, so I'm assuming that in the past we may have done it in-house. But currently, I know we don't have enough sweepers ourselves even to begin to start taking care of the state highways too. So.
Okay, looking for a motion. Motion and support. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Lastly, for J.C. Dot, the overbanding crack sealing bid.
Yeah, we also took bids for overbanding crack sealing. If you're not familiar with that, that's just taking the hot asphalt and filling the smaller cracks prior to seal coating, prior to sometimes when even before you start paving. It's a process that preserves the roads that are still in a Series 8 or 7, as far as our PACER ratings go. It just seals it so water can't get in there and do the damage to the roads early, and it's a very cost-effective maintenance process for us. So we do farm that out because we do not have a crack sealer in-house.
Okay, questions from commissioners? Hearing none, we have a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Motion and support. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thanks, Jerry. Thanks, Joe. Sheriff, AED donation to the sheriff's office.
Thank you. You have in front of you a proposal from American One Federal Credit Union. They approached us a little over a month ago, knowing that we no longer had AEDs in use. We had previously, and they had, we had kind of gone through their useful life, and they were no longer compatible with what we needed, so we phased them out. They have offered to purchase 15 of these devices for use in our cars, Marine Division, etc. And I guess I need approval of the board to accept this donation from American One Federal Credit Union.
Very kind of them. Sheriff, any idea how much they are, ballpark?
They are about $2,000 a piece. They are not the cheapest units out there, but they do dovetail with what JCA uses, which is helpful because then we can interact with JCA, especially when it comes to patches and some of the equipment, and as well as the updates that may be needed for that product.
Very good. Commissioners, Dave? Motion and support. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Voice recorder system for 911.
This is the last of the bids for, or proposals for the new 911 upgrade. You have in front of you, there was 3 bids accepted, actually there was more than that, but these were the 3 that met the criteria of our request for proposal. It's a little deceptive, the lowest bid on there from RevCord met the expectations of our RFP. However, for the additional products that Van Belkom is offering, it would require a lot more, and actually exceed, I believe, Van Belkom's bid. Van Belkom is the company we've been using for the past probably 15 years, and that product works very well. It's a Michigan-based company, and they have a good history of supporting the product, and like I say, because it's a Michigan-based company, they are local more or less, and I would just recommend that we take the Van Belkom bid.
Sheriff, is it a one-time cost with them, or are there any ongoing costs associated with it, with them?
I'll have to check. See, does this include the maintenance cost or not?
This is the purchase price for the product. There are ongoing maintenance costs. They are very minimal, compatible with what we have now. This is a more enhanced system. It does not require as much of their time as the current system does.
Okay. Commissioners, any other questions or comments? Just one comment that I gave to the administrator this morning and deputy administrator was, I think it's useful to us, at least to me, technologically illiterate sometimes, to have the IT department weigh in on these issues too. I think would be a useful thing for me anyway. So, okay, looking for a motion. Motion and support. Questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. The communications tower lease.
Yes, we were approached, actually, we made contact with and have been working with Enbridge Oil pipeline people that have just come through Jackson County recently. We have a good relationship with those folks. They have offered the use of a tower on Pickett Road north of Michigan Avenue in the Parma area. The location of the tower is somewhere in the neighborhood of 250 feet vertical, which would bring the antennas that we use for our communications equipment a much higher level. Not 100% sure whether we're going to use that tower yet or not, but it might mean moving off of the water tower in Springport, which is a much lower elevation, as you're probably aware, and we expect, and we're waiting for all the figures to come back, it would enhance coverage on the west side of the county and get us closer to 94, closer to more of the population, without reducing anything in Springport area, and also enhance some of the areas in Tompkins where it's a little bit hit and miss right now.
And Sheriff, that was my only question on that. Was this going to replace a current tower or be an additional one? And if you actually locate equipment there, there'll be an expense related to that at some point, you'd think?
Because of the proximity to the existing tower in Springport, yeah, it wouldn't make sense to add it. It would be a move, and we can probably even move the shed with minimal cost. And like I said, the equipment's already there, so.
Okay, very good. Questions, commissioners? Hearing none, need a motion? Motion and support. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Parks, approval to purchase an alcohol permit and enhancements for the clubhouse.
Good morning. Last week, Phil Fischmeister, our clubhouse manager, did a very nice job presenting the opportunity to move forward with and hopefully have the approval to purchase an alcohol permit and also do some clubhouse enhancements to accommodate that process. And we're looking for the opportunity to move forward and have the alcohol permit. We are in discussions right now to be able to purchase that for $35,000. And then in discussions with an architect to lastly design the golf course clubhouse back in 2000 with an enhancements of about $10,000 to accommodate some equipment, but also to some redesign of the countertops that are there to accommodate that process. So we're looking for approval to move forward with that. Any questions?
Commissioners, any questions? Just one for me of the administrator. Sufficient funds to cover this, where it's coming from, which is what the capital fund, I think. That's a yes?
Yes.
Okay.
And also, too, as you'll note, we're looking to repay that within a 2-year period also.
Okay, very good. Commissioners, any questions? Otherwise, looking for a motion? Motion and support. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Phil. That, of course, goes to the full board. Administrator Controller, item R is yours. Recommendation of sending to the full board the adoption of the Cascades Ad Hoc Committee. We had that presentation 2 months ago, I think. There's been a lot of work going on behind the scenes. The chair has been working with the Parks Chair and Parks Board in finding an advocate for that project. So, Adam, do you have any comments?
Since the presentation, we haven't really formally taken any action to adopt it as a plan, so that's what's before you today.
Okay. Commissioners, if no questions, we'd need a motion to send it to the full board for official adoption. Motion and support. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. We're down to claims. It's a painful process. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. You have the other minutes and the May reporting schedule, and we're back to public comments. Public, you have 3 minutes if you'd give us your name. Public comment. Hearing none. Committee member comments. Awful quiet group today. We're adjourned.